All right, welcome back. Our first 2 weeks were kind of what I call a soft start, okay? We got some foundations laid. We experimented with some of the tools in the classroom as well as the outside tool of VoiceThread. We got some get to know you things in, and I really feel like, especially when we're talking about training and educating people, that we really can't, no matter what context that is, whether it's in a traditional classroom, a blended classroom, an online classroom, maybe even a corporate type classroom or a different setting. I know we have different people coming from different types of education. It's really important that we put that relationship piece, that foundational piece into play before we go into assessing and teaching and trying to draw out results from people. I just read a really interesting article this week that basically talked about that. There was data to document that when people make connections, they learn better. We connections with other people. So we've already set ourselves up for that, and it's something we can kind of tuck away too to remember as we are working with our own students of all ages in all different contexts, that as we do training, people are more trainable if they feel connected. I always think of that Cheers song, wouldn't you like to know, go where everybody knows your name, they're always glad you came. We've been watching them on Netflix lately, and every time that song comes up I just kind of grin, because I do believe inherent in all of us is that need for connection at some level. So, just a little side thought as we get into the course this week, full throttle. The pace is pretty fast. This course is a condensed course, as you know, and you signed up for it for that reason, but I just want to remind you that it's going to feel a little bit crazy at first. I wanted to remind you, if you looked here, over here we've got this course calendar. This is my go-to place personally, just to kind of see the big picture of things and see a checklist. I did do some updating on it. If you've already printed it, the updating doesn't happen until next week. I did add a reading, but just wanted to warn you about that. Okay, this week what we're going to be working on is looking at the effectiveness of different assessment practices in online and blended courses. And by the way, I'm implying here when I say online that this is blended as well. It is a type of online learning. And for the purpose of fulfilling everybody's needs in this course, and from the course I've already the times that I've already taught this, or the time that I already taught this, I had, for example, some folks that were in higher education, and there were some that were in elementary education. There's some that are gym teachers, as you've seen from your little scenarios, and some that work in the health professions. Define that classroom as you are writing. Make this course work for you, but let us know, because I think there's a great lot that I can learn about what I teach from outside contexts. I need my students to be taught in a way that translates well to corporate America, to the healthcare industry. We need to think bigger here, almost like a global classroom beyond just like our ethnicities and cultures, but also in different work cultures and work environments. So there's a readiness challenge there that we want this to be. When I say online courses or online classroom, it's beyond just online. We're talking about blended, we're talking about outside of education, anytime where somebody's being trained using a computer as part of the component, okay? Okay, explain the challenges of assessing learning engagement in the online and blended classroom. Begin to build a strategy to overcome them, and illustrate and explain the connections between objectives, outcomes, and assessments. Okay, these are all the fancy little learning outcomes. Here's what we're really doing. We're going to really be talking about what alignment is and why do I even care if my assessments align. We're going to play a little matching game that has to do with different types of assessments, and we're going to do some discussion, and we're also going to do our assessment portfolio. Let's go ahead and return, and then of course we have the readings and anything that you gather besides that. So let's go ahead and go back to the classroom and see how this all plays. I see a few edits that I want to make to that calendar again. So go to classroom lessons, and I will make those edits so that they line up perfectly. Learning units, here we go. And Click on this guy and kind of talk about what we're going to be talking about. I think that a lot of us have had experiences where we've been assessed for our learning, and the thing that we thought we were trying to learn wasn't assessed, or we were assessed over something that we were never taught, and that there was a disjointedness in this. And we know what that feels like as a student when we did what we could do to prepare based on the learning objectives, but the assessment practice, or even the consistency factor. I was really challenged in my master's program to think about the way I taught and make the way and the context that I was teaching in fit the way I was assessing. I did a lot with group activities and interactives and collaboratives. Is my testing practice, at least in part, matching the way that I'm teaching? I think what blended and online learning allows us to do is to rethink some of these assessment practices and be very deliberate and intentional in the way we execute them. I think also at one level, how we question, even the kind of assessment we choose, all of these things are going to build into the effectiveness. And I think that, we're talking about learning objectives. We're also talking about what is it that I want to measure from my students. When do I assess? How often? And how much of that information is the assessment for me or is it for the student? We're talking a lot about data collection in the education field. And I know data collection is a big part of the corporate world and the medical world and that kind of thing already. Education's I feel a little bit behind on the data front, but now we're hitting it full throttle. How do we really make sure that the data we're gathering is really proving what we hypothesize it to prove, or how can we really tell that our students are mastering something? Okay, those are just some thoughts on this topic. These are related to reading, so you'll definitely want to take care to do the readings along with or in front of doing the discussion board activity. The blog is a little different this time. I'm going to open it up for us so we can just kind of look at the matching game that is what it is. And you're going to select 4 learning outcomes. There's a list that's for this activity that you can choose from. You can open that document. You're going to go to the blog and you're going to create a post. And then basically you can make a chart. I would recommend a chart with the 4 learning outcomes, the type of assessment you would choose, a little bit more about that and how it would look in an online classroom. And then we'd like to use citations for these so that this could be something we build on later and that other people could that we could help others in their research. There are some additional resources here if you need them. They're not required, but they might be helpful. Okay, and then for that matching and discussion, for both of these items, we're going to give feedback. The unfortunate thing about a compressed class is that you don't have much time to marinate on people's responses or to even contrive your own response first or collaborate on your own response before thinking about other people's responses. So here's what I'm going to challenge you with. I did not change deadlines from Sunday at midnight because I feel like this course needs to offer flexibility. But if you don't post before Sunday at midnight, it's not going to be a very effective discussion. So if it all depends upon you, could you please turn in activity 2.1 and activity 2.2 by midnight on Wednesday night, giving the rest of us Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend to reply to you. And then when you reply, could you choose someone who hasn't had a reply yet? If possible, that would be really helpful, I think, to all of us, and just really engaging and making this a good conversation for all and beneficial to all. And when I'm talking about replies, we're replying to content, we are applauding each other's thought processes, we're challenging each other's thought processes, we're asking for clarification. And so don't just put your initial post and replies in and walk away. Do revisit, come back, and give some of your thoughtfulness there too. I'm going to actually give feedback through these tools as replies when I assess your work, just to be part of the conversation, kind of coming alongside you. And I might put out challenge questions and things like that. That's not me being critical in a harsh sense, but it is. I'm going to try to encourage our critical thinking as much as possible. Okay, for the assessment portfolio this week, we're going to create a new header in whatever way you'd like. I'm just looking at number 4 here, and explain um, why you feel sorry, the phone's distracting me. I have a little bit of ADHD, I think. Why they were effective in helping you to meet the SLOs for this class. Discuss challenges you had with the assessment and online environment, what you do to overcome them. I think this is really important right here. I think we can find all sorts of challenges, and I believe that traditional education would definitely love to have a heyday with finding all of the challenges there are with online education and how do you really prove the students doing the work. And I want to talk about those because we must address those. But let's also answer with some solutions. Let's also recognize there are weaknesses in the traditional setting as well. And what might we capitalize on within an online and blended context that might make our assessments even more effective? And what do we need to tweak to make sure that those assessments are what we hope for them to be? So this is sort of the whole overview. I can let you read on your own. I look forward to reading these. I feel like this discussion interchange is probably the most powerful part of the class. Yeah, the readings are good and all of that, but there's something to be said about responding to those readings together and learning alongside of each other. So I'm looking forward to reviewing the readings along with you, and I will be also commenting on your work as we go. I probably will wait to join the conversation until after Sunday at midnight, just trying to give you some space. I know that this is where I like to capitalize on an online environment. In a traditional environment, even in my blended classroom that I'm teaching right now, I find that I tend to just can't resist taking control of the conversation. I know it's hard to believe from me on my personality through the screen here. I don't want to do that. I don't want to direct the conversation. I want to watch it go and take off and watch you completely immerse in it, and then come in at the end and just give you an attaboy, attagirl, because I feel like if I would let my students get there on their own in my blended and face-to-face classes, they would. I just don't take the time to do it. And we have that feature built in that you do have the time to do this without the instructor chiming in. And I think that's really important, and just want to model that out too as far as an assessment practice, because essentially, since I am grading the blogs and grading the discussion boards and grading the wikis, these are our assessment pieces for this course. So just something to think about. Would you have a great week, and I look forward to talking to you more as you have questions in the Q&A or if you email me. Talk to you later.